Hey everyone, we're back with our next session where we are taking an exciting look at EdApp. With us is Sam. Sorry, is it Sam or Samuel? I totally forgot to ask before we went live. It's very unprofessional of
Um,
me. Uh,
Sam works. Sam
okay, there
works.
we go.
My professional ID life is Samuel Farhi,
Ah,
and I'm a writer, and that's Sam Farhi. So it all
oh,
is the
I
same
like.
person
Look at that.
right
But
here.
there we
Yeah.
go. Super. Well, either way, I'm going to get off the stage before I cause any more issues at the start of this, and we'll dive into looking at what is an awesome tool.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for joining me. I want to go a little bit above just kind of demoing the EdApp tool and kind of give you an idea of what we're doing at EdApp and our loftier goals and how we reach them. The first thing is EdApp, just purely descriptive, is an LMS and authoring tool combined. And the authoring tool and LMS are free. They're for people. Now, that's not just to say, hey, it's free. That's part of the philosophy of EdApp. One of our biggest tenets is the idea of democratizing instructional design. And how we do that. The idea really is that you do not have to be an instructional designer to do instructional design. So we work with a lot of smaller to mid-sized businesses, communities that may not be able to afford a L&D team or to hire an instructional designer. And we put the tools in their hands to be able to make their own courseware. And sometimes that's a matter of safety. Sometimes that's a matter of just building skills and furthering people's knowledge and careers and things like that. So that's what we do. And we, even though that's like a big kind of goal, we're doing very practical steps to get there. So I'm going to walk you through a few of the things that we're doing. One of the things that we do is we're micro-learning focused. So the tool and the courseware work on desktops, but they also are, we have mobile in mind. A lot of the workers that we do instructional design for and help them do themselves are out in the field. They don't have a desktop computer or a laptop with them, and sometimes they need to learn things on the job. So really it's focused on mobile devices, tablets, things like that. So that's the first thing. And one of the things was too is that what we found was that we wanted to make EdApp a habitual process. So you wake up in the morning, you go to work, you check your email, Instagram, and EdApp. That's kind of the idea. So we wanted to be learning to be integrated into the daily life of the learner. And so, yeah, so EdApp, the learners download it on the App Store for Apple or the Google Play Store, and they have their EdApp. They log in and they're in their instructor's account. Okay, so let me show you what this looks like. I'm going to share my screen. Share screen. Here we are. Oh, and I realized I didn't introduce myself. I'm Sam. I'm working out of New York. So my voice is, that New York accent, kind of, maybe. So that's where that's coming from. And I'm the lead instructional designer at EdApp. And if you have any questions about it, you can email me at sam@edapp.com. Okay, so here we are. There are basically two logins in EdApp. There's the admin login and the learner login. But the admin login is where the authors go. And this is where you have your courses. Now, in terms of the democratizing of instructional design, we have a free public library that not only we created hundreds of courses in here to use for free with license-free images and anything that basically all these courses can be deployed tomorrow. So if someone, let's say, is the manager at a coffee shop, they can actually just sign up for EdApp, pick out a few courses and deploy them, the next day. they're made to be editable, but they're also substantive. So they don't require much editing. Um, they're researched, they're sourced, they're ready to go, and they're free as part of this public library that we have. So we have a few industries here that we tend to work with. We have construction industry, retail, what do we have up here? Manufacturing, and they're all pretty great, I gotta say. But not only do we have this that's created by us and the IDs at EdApp, we also have an initiative called Educate All, which I'd invite you to participate in if you'd like. And basically what that is you sign up for an Educate All account, you create courseware, and it goes into the library. And so there's a lot of user-generated content as well. So it's pretty great. You just click on what you want, select this. You can even preview the courses in the content library. Select a few of these, and the art of busing. I love that title. Import, and now I have it in my account, ready to go to learners. So that's the content library. We're very proud of that. And it actually started with an initiative with the UN and UNITAR. It was, so that I think there are courses in microfinance, in entrepreneurship for women, and for people from all over the world to take these courses. And so that's where it started, and it evolved into something just broader and broader. So it's pretty amazing. I'm very proud of it. Okay, but not only is there the LMS and the content library, there's actually a free authoring tool within EdApp, and that's where we create all of this courseware. So I'm going to show you what that looks like and how it ties in with the democratization tenet. So here's one. This is an ergonomics demo. So this was an ergonomics course, I believe, for retail. I'm going to click on it. And here it is. So you can click through it, you can just sample the course. Looks good, looks good. Okay, so I'm gonna click Edit Lesson Content and show you what the tool looks like. So here's the tool. It's very simple. The left is just what you saw before, is an interactive, basically demonstration, so you can just take the course as you're creating it. And the middle is where all the text and graphics go. And the right side is basically your slide stack. So it's that simple. It's template based. It's slide based. It's not scrolling through. It's really just here's a slide, here's a slide, here's a slide. And this is the tool. I mean, it's very simple and easy to use. And what it does for someone who's not an instructional designer, it does not require them to decide what buttons do what. There's no, okay, if I click continue here, or if I get this answer wrong, then I want it to go back to this slide. It's actually very linear within the lessons. That being said, we know that linear learning isn't always great. So that's why, and part of the idea of keeping lessons short. So since the beginning of EdApp, and we're quite a few years old now, we found that the range, if the lesson has a slide range between 8 and 12 slides, we found completion rates to be exponentially higher. It's very, very weird. It's like if it goes up to 15 slides or longer, the completion rates were much, much lower. But we've had a ton of success in just the original data of EdApp in that slide range. And I think there's a few things working here, and this is my completely unscientific opinion, but I liken it to if you're reading a novel, let's say, and you have a lot of short chapters in that novel, you might finish that novel that day. And part of it is because you get to the end of the chapter and you go, oh, that was short. I have time for another one. And you go, okay, complete another chapter. I might have time for another one. And by the end of the day, it could be the same, text is War and Peace, but you might get to the end of it. So that's really what the micro lessons are about. So we keep the lessons short. We keep them kind of simple in their progression so that someone who's not an instructional designer doesn't have to make the decisions of, okay, is this going to go here? Is this going to go here? The design is pretty great already, super responsive. And really, it just requires the author to just kind of fill in the blanks. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, so one thing that we did find, though, is that creativity and choice is super important, not just for learners, but also for authors. If I click on Add a New Slide, here are our templates. And if you see here, we have a ton of them. We have a ton of them to choose from. I think we have somewhere close to 90. I think it's something like 88 templates. So what that allows is for a diversity of slides and a diversity of interactions. So here we have all of our, text, images, video, slides here, and then we have our knowledge checks here, and we have many different ones. So here you have your fill in the blanks, your multiple choice. If you see this, there are 11 of them, and it has the same function. There's a question at the top. There are some multiple answers that they choose from, right? We all know multiple choice, but it's presented in different ways. And we found that to have a diversity of templates in a lesson allows for just a more engaging lesson, more fun lesson, more completions. So what we try to do is to not repeat the same template more than once in a lesson, to really have a diverse array of different slides. And so that's what we do here in terms of the interactions. We also have numbers. This is good for things like, prices and stuff like that. But anything in EdApp, it has a preset, and then you can just, delete this. We could have a phone number here. We could have a code. We could have all kinds of things. So there's a lot of customization possible if you want it. But if you don't, it's also great out of the box. That's kind of the idea. So that also helps with these small and mid-sized companies. Let's say if we're a construction company and we're about to work on a new property the next day, we might upload a blueprint of where the work site, and we might kind of show our learners through it so that they're prepared when they get there the next day. So that kind of rapid authoring is super important for companies like that. Another thing that is wonderful about our tool here, and that we keep in mind, is that there are many different ways, to learn here. So for some learners, they're more text-based. Some need more experiential learning. Some need more video, and we like to have all of those things in a lesson. So we tend to have quite a lot of imagery, and we have the tools for that. And if you click on any of these, anywhere you can upload an image, there's actually a Canva integration. So I can actually just click on design on Canva. So so I don't even need Photoshop or anything to edit images. I can actually pick and edit images within EdApp itself. So that's pretty great as well. Canva also has integrations with things like Pexels, which is my favorite stock image site. I'm sure you all have your own favorites. So this can be really, really beneficial to someone who's just starting instructional design. So this is for anywhere as well. Now, if we go through this lesson, you'll notice there's a background image. There's a kind of a look to the buttons and to the font. And this is not set in stone. So when you import this from the content library, this is the default font that it comes with. But you can actually do quite a lot using CSS in EdApp. So I think we're a little unique in that way that we have CSS, and that's part of our DNA. So something like, I'll show you what I mean. So this lesson, for example, this was a food prep lesson. Can go to any restaurant or deli counter or what have you. If I click through here, you'll see, oh, there's different colors at the top. The buttons are different. There's a little shadow underneath. The buttons are different shapes. If I hover, all of this is different than the default. And this is all from using CSS coding. Now, sometimes we don't want to do this for every single lesson, make a different code. We kind of just want to have a cohesive look. If you click on the branding tab here, I can actually see the code and I can transfer it. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to bring it over to my ergonomics course. And remember the white and black. Just show you what it looks like. This is what it looked like. And all it takes is copy and paste. And the whole lesson has changed. All of the buttons, even here with going up in the numbers. So this is a skill our IDs have learned on the job, really, of kind of advancing our CSS. We're not web developers. It's a web development language, but it's helped tremendously in creating just some great courseware kind of quickly. So this is a huge plus with EdApp, is this customization. So if a client, let's say, has their company colors, and they want their lessons to feel like part of the whole, what do you call it, makeup of the company, it's very easy to do that, to just replace colors with the company colors. And what happens is a company will tell their learners, you can download EdApp. They go into their courseware, and it looks almost like it's another app that they developed for their company, but they just did it themselves. So it's pretty amazing. So that is the CSS and branding part of EdApp. So it's very easy to customize and make fit for any organization that you're working with. Another big thing that happened with EdApp is we have a kind of a gamification aspect. So as you progress through lessons, and as a learner progresses through lessons, they actually can accumulate stars, and there can be a company-wide leaderboard where learners are competing with each other about how well they did on the instructional design module. So that's pretty great. It doesn't really work with every culture that we step into, but for the people that do use it, it can be really a great motivator to have those completions.
Hey, we've got a quick question coming
Yes.
in the Q&A. I just thought it would be good to
Sure.
cover some of those off.
Yeah.
So right at the start, you were talking about, I think there's the Education for All program and that kind of thing. And I think that maybe sparked this question. Let's have a look from Barry. So does this mean that if my company creates a course here, it's available to all EdApp users, or is there a setting that I can choose?
No, so that's a specific kind of account. If your company creates a course here, it's private to you and your learners. There's no it going into the content library. That's just a specific kind of account.
Awesome. And in fact, Barry's asked a second question
Mhm.
on stage. So, can I export this to my own LMS in a Scorm compliant format, or does the learner need to access EdApp?
You can export it in a Scorm file. So you can actually just use the tool and export it to Scorm and upload to your LMS. Yeah.
Perfect.
And it's completely free. I mean, I don't like saying free so much because I feel like a salesman and I'm not a salesman. It is actually free. The part where people have to, there's no catch to that. When people start to use things like user groups, where you're going, okay, I have many different locations, and in the LMS, I want my London location to be different than my New York location, and I'm going to put my users in different groups, and they're going to have different courseware. That's part of the premium features, but the authoring tool itself is completely free. Having learners in your LMS and taking the courses is free. Yeah.
That's, in fairness, I think even if you were a salesperson, if you just walk around going, everything's free, you can have it all for free, that's a terrible salesperson, isn't it? That's
Isn't it? Exactly. I'm the
brilliant.
worst salesperson, I gotta say.
That's
But
what we
yeah.
like to hear, quite frankly, at this conference. Um, Super. I will hand the stage back to you. We've got a little while left, so please continue. I just thought it was worth jumping in with those questions.
Oh yeah, totally. If there's other questions, please just let me know. Yeah, I'd love to answer those questions. Um, One of the great things, and I'll show you this, and this is just as an educator. So before I came to EdApp, I worked as a curriculum developer at a university, and going around and helping different teachers, structure syllabi and create the most effective course for what they want the students to explore. And so this is why this particular feature is my favorite part about EdApp, and it is called a discussion. We have discussions and assignments. So if I click on this drop-down menu, we have discussions, we have assignments, we have a virtual classroom. The virtual classroom is really a link to a Zoom or a Google Meet, and it has a schedule and it has a place where you can put the pre-record or the post-recording of that discussion or presentation. So that's what that is. It's pretty basic. It just allows that video or conference to be part of the course. But these two I'm really excited about. So the creating a discussion. So what this is it creates a discussion board in that course for the learners to use. And we've seen this work so well with big groups and even small groups. And when it works, it's like a very beautiful thing to see. So if I say conversation one, and I write here a prompt, and probably a reflective prompt, something that's open-ended. So something about, tell us about a time with a difficult customer and how you handled it. Let's do that. Tell us customer and how you handled it. Exclamation point. And then I have here, users must submit at least one post and one comment on another person's post. And what happens are these great conversations between learners, things that, as an instructional designer, I wouldn't even think about because I don't have their job, or maybe even an SME that's not on the ground would know. So let's say if we were selling cars and at a Mazda dealership, I just made that up. Mazda dealership, and there's someone who's been there for 10 years, and then there's the kid who just started last week. There's a lot of knowledge transfer that can happen between those two groups, those two people that might not have happened. That might not have happened otherwise. So even if they're in different locations and they're in the same course, they can actually share this kind of knowledge, and people can ask questions. People can post their experiences, what works best for them. So the discussion board is just an incredible educational tool, and having the right kind of prompt that's open-ended, that's specific, can be really, really beneficial to a group. Also, with the amount of turnover that happens in jobs like these, if someone leaves, like let's say that person who was a salesperson for 20 years leaves the company, their knowledge doesn't necessarily leave with them. It could stay on that discussion board for future employees to benefit from. So that's an amazing thing too. It's kind of a nice log of a user created manual almost. So it can be really, really great, and it has worked tremendously. You can also upload images to it and text as well. So very great. I like this because it doesn't require anyone to grade it. It doesn't require the manager at all. Really, the users themselves can post and comment. But if you want a little more control, or let's say the admin or manager wants a little bit more of a control here, the assignment feature is very close to this, where you would say up here something like assignment 1, you have a prompt. It might be something very similar to how you would start a discussion. This is similar. Users must submit an assignment and post one comment on someone else's assignment. But what happens here is on the admin side of things. First, they can say whether this is adequate, does it pass, do they have to try again? But also on the admin side of things, the admin can comment directly to the user without it being public, and have a public comment as well. So there are kind of two fields that they can comment on. So this is pretty great too. I mean, it can evoke some sort of like school academic kind of thing, like do you pass, do you fail? That's why I kind of prefer the discussions. But if you want to have a kind of more directed learning, the assignments feature is also really great for that. Okay, so that's the assignment feature. Now, I think what we'll end with is this group train up, and this is, here we are, train up. If you'd like, I really would appreciate and recommend joining Train Up. So it's a group in LinkedIn, to be, simple about it. But the idea of the group is that instructional designers like yourselves have an opportunity to speak with non-instructional designers. That's the idea of the group. So right now we have 270 members. Those are all L&D people mostly, and we're starting to branch out and getting small and medium businesses on the site as well. And so that there's an exchange happening of, how do you do this? Or what's the best way to perform a needs analysis? If they even know the term needs analysis, it might go, what should I train on? And this is where the education can happen between these two groups of people that work so much together so well. So here's someone, I'm new to the group. I'm a health and safety professional, developing some courses through the partnership scheme. So this is someone who's not necessarily an instructional designer, I believe. And there's just a lot of great articles here, and there's a real bridge being built. It's still in its early stages, but yeah, I would really appreciate it if you want to join. Come and join the discussion. We're going to be doing quarterly little talks with people from the group as well. So I think that's it. That's what I have. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Let's see. Stop sharing.
Awesome. Well,
And
thank you
Tom.
ever so much. That was
Yeah.
really great.
Awesome. Good. All right. And if anyone needs to reach me, it's sam@edapp.com.
Great stuff. Well, thank you very much. We shall finish this here. We've got a about 9-minute break now, and then coming up next is Unfiltered Design, an instructional design project from start to finish with Kara North. And for some reason, I've gone into radio announcer voice. We'll end now before it gets any worse.